Office Bloke Daz.
I'm Sophie.
I'm Office Bloke Aidan.
I'm G.
Don't forget, if you've not subscribed to the channel, you're missing out.
Yeah.
There'll be competition soon, just for subscribers only. So hit that button, get subscribed. I'm going to do a video today about 1970s things that kids no longer do. Now, I grew up in the 70s.
Health and safety.
Gaynor grew up in the 70s. I was aged between being born and 8 years old in the 70s. Yeah?
Right.
That's not that old. It was like...
It was a kid, mate. I remember the 70s more than I remember anything else.
I do as well.
Because in the 80s, I turned to all illegal substances and stuff like that. Right?
It's all hazy.
And then it's just a blur. I'm kidding. Yeah. I used to smoke when I was in the 70s.
Do you remember though when
I'm
you were
not lying.
No, I know.
From
But
your mum's purse.
remember when you were a kid and your mum like fills the car up and then she gives you a cig to hold.
Yeah,
and
you
then
weren't allowed to have a lit cigarette in the petrol station. So my mum used to chain smoke. She'd one after the other. She'd light one with the cigarette she was just putting out.
Yeah.
She'd light a new one with it. And then she'd say to me, hold this, and give it me. Like, I'm sat in the front with no seatbelt on, right? And she'd say, hold this, and then when I look over my shoulder, I'd be like... and she'd come back in, and she'd look at it, and she'd go... She knew.
Wasn't there one time when your dad caught you smoking a cigar, and instead of
my
taking
brother.
it, your brother,
Yeah.
instead of taking it off, he forced you to finish the whole thing.
He had to he made him smoke the whole cigar and inhale it. My brother was like green, barfing everywhere.
I remember when I was about 7 and me and my friend Lisa stole one of my mum's cigarettes and we went, we'll have half each, and she went so I had about that much and she had loads but with no tip on it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Stuck it behind her ear like a woodbine. Anyway, let's get into it. 70s things that kids no longer do, and I can imagine there's loads on this that I've done. That both of us have probably done.
Yeah.
That I've never even heard of.
You've never heard of, yeah. I wouldn't even imagine, wouldn't be allowed to do
Ah,
it
the
nowadays.
70s. It was a decade of muscle cars, bell-bottoms, rock and roll, and yes, even a little bit of disco. Back then, people did things that are now frowned upon. Sure, it was a little dangerous, but it certainly was a lot of fun. In today's video, we'll take a look back at some of the things done in the 70s that are no longer acceptable. The 1970s was a time when things were different, and I'm not just talking about fashion. There were things that we did, and yet here we are. For example, kids would play outside all day. If there was dirt on our hands or faces and we had somewhere important to go, then no problem. We didn't use antibacterial wipes or hand sanitizer. We had something better. Mom spit in a handkerchief, and that was pretty much like 409. It could remove anything. And speaking of being outside, as kids we rode bikes without helmets, bike paths, or adult supervision. There weren't any elbow pads or knee pads.
That's a great picture.
Yeah.
See this gash on the eye here? That's scar, what's it? Scar.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
That's through that.
Is that you?
Jumping over. We used to line people up on the floor. I'm not lying here, right? In the middle of the road, right? The cars we'd have to wait till there's a gap in the cars. We put 2 or 3 bricks down, a plank of wood, right? And then everyone would lie next to the bricks, and we'd see how many we could jump on our bike. I remember jumping about, I don't know, probably about 4 people, and my hand coming off the handlebars on this side, and my head going, massive gash on my head like that. And we fixed it ourselves. We didn't go in, because if we went in and I'm coming back out again, I weren't allowed back out.
Yeah.
So it was like, what do we do? The next thing, we've got dry leaves stuck to my face, stopping the bleeding, so I could carry on playing on my bike.
It's true though, isn't it? Once you left in the morning, you weren't allowed to come back until it was dark. When the street lights came on, that's when you went home.
My
You
dad
could be
used
out for 8 hours.
Have you know what catches on the door when they say put the catch on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can't turn the key in it or anything like that. When we used to go out in the morning, my dad used to put the catch on so we couldn't get back in. Yeah. Proper style.
Jesus.
Either. We just ended up with scarred elbows and knees. It sure was fun though.
Like that.
Those
Yeah.
scabs and scars were like trophies with great stories to tell about what
You wouldn't want to
happened.
be the one at the end.
Kids back then were adventurous. When a kid got seriously injured, people generally felt sorry for the parents. They didn't blame them for letting them climb the trees. Safety standards of today weren't anywhere to be seen back then. There were trampolines, but they didn't have safety nets around them.
Safety nets.
We actually loved the challenge of danger. Remember squirting down the trampoline with water and adding a little bit of palm olive dish soap to make it extra slippery? That just meant extra laughs when your friends slid off of the trampoline onto the ground. Heck, even going to camp back then was completely different. Your parents didn't have to fill out 20 forms of paper wanting complete medical history, including all of your allergies.
Weren't allowed to go to camp.
You weren't.
Nope.
Why?
Too many kiddie fiddlers around. My dad was like, no way. And even I was like, no way.
Remember when we sent
Look at
him
him.
in Declan to camp?
Yeah.
So it's alright for Declan to go.
He was all checked, it was legit.
You don't remember when you went to camp?
No.
That was
what
over
camp
it.
did I go?
You went to one in Wales?
Yeah, I went to Wales, yeah.
Don't remember
Yeah.
it.
How
Can't remember
old
what
was
it's
I?
called now. You're about 7, wasn't he?
Yeah.
7 or 8.
But the thing is, people can pass background checks and they still end
Yeah.
up doing things.
But that's why I weren't allowed to go.
Yeah.
There's too many wrong uns about.
Probably
In the
wise.
US and the UK.
Yeah, the UK mostly is what I'm talking about.
Insurance, and waivers in case you got hurt. School was also much different back in the 70s. For the most part, we went to the closest school and not necessarily the best one. If we rode the bus and we acted up, the bus driver would yell at you. The kid actually got in trouble, not the bus driver. We took our lunches to school in metal lunch pails, and inside could be leftover chicken, bologna, or even tuna. Back then, there were no fridges in the classrooms, and there certainly weren't any of those ice blocks to put in your lunch pail. Yet, for some reason...
Sorry, is there fridges in the classroom now?
I've not seen them.
I've not seen them.
We should have fridges in our class.
Classroom. I've never seen a fridge in a classroom.
Maybe in a well-to-do area.
The one we had at home didn't work that good.
Then we didn't get food poisoning.
Evil Knievel.
If you had a teacher that was angry all the time, then you just dealt with it. You didn't transfer out of class. You just hoped and prayed that you would have a better one next year. When a teacher gave you swats, you certainly didn't run home and tell your parents because we were all afraid that we would get it again. For the most part, kids just avoided getting in trouble in the first place. Our parents rarely knew our teacher's name, much less how qualified they were. When it came time for the parent-teacher conference, kids got nervous and scared, not the teachers.
Exactly.
If you got a bad grade on a test, then you...
I ain't gonna lie, my dad didn't even know what school I went to. You don't even know when my birthday is.
He does know when your birthday is.
But was he not there on parents' evening?
No, he never went.
No, parent, you mad?
I was joking.
My parents never went to parents' evening. I think maybe once in the whole time I was at school.
My mum went to all of them, but I had to go with her.
No.
Well, that's how it normally goes, isn't it?
No, normally parents went to parents' evening. You wasn't allowed to go. You had to stay at home.
Well, I had 2 older brothers.
I wasn't allowed to go and sit with the teacher. I had to sit on the bench outside.
I got 2 older brothers, and because they were so bad at school, they wouldn't allow me to go to that school. I had to go to another school that was a mile away. It seemed like a whole different town, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And that's how we met.
You got a talking to and not a cuddle. Back then, if a kid received an award for being Student of the Week, then it meant that they actually did something great instead of just showing up for school. In the 70s, what happened on the playground stayed on the playground. It could be rough, but it could certainly be fun. When you did get injured, a teacher could put mercurochrome on a scraped knee without obtaining parents' permission or completing an incident report.
Do that now.
School field trips were much easier. There was no such thing as a kid-to-parent volunteer ratio. You were just happy to get out of class and you didn't want to do anything to ruin the next trip. School breaks were always welcomed, and it wasn't about art class or summer camps. But we did try to blow off steam by getting into some sort of sport on Saturdays. Making the team was always a big deal, and it wasn't always guaranteed. If you didn't make it, then you had to try harder next time or pick a different sport.
Exactly.
When you won the big game, you could tell tall tales about how it was done. If you had a great season and you came out on top, then you got a trophy. There were also trophies for 2nd and 3rd place, but not 20th. Not every kid was going to get one, and it was perfectly fine. Family vacations came before kids' sporting schedules, and that's something that seems to be disappearing from today's time.
Size of that car.
Birthday parties were fun back in the 70s, and they certainly weren't like today's parties with celery and face painting. We had hot dogs, burgers, soda, and of course cake, but there were also other things to challenge you with an element of danger. Remember having your hands tied behind your back, being blindfolded, and trying to eat a donut on a string before others could? Sometimes this was even done while you were being held upside down. Sharp things were just part of the fun at parties in the 1970s. We played pin the tail on a donkey with a sharp tack after being spun in a circle and were completely dizzy. And how about lawn darts? We all played the game and we didn't think about it being dangerous. And as a 10-year-old boy, it was perfectly fine to receive a pocket knife as a present. A gift like that could come in really handy and could last a lifetime. We also didn't worry about germs at parties. Nobody wrote their names on cups and we all shared them at some point. We probably even offered our friend a bite of our own hot dog. If somehow we got injured and spilled blood, then there was a good chance that we were going to become blood brothers. This, of course, was long before the AIDS scare of the 1980s.
There used to be a thing where you sliced.
Yeah, you prick your finger or make blood out your thumb and push your thumbs together.
We used to
Slice your hand.
slice your hand and then shake hands with your friends and you mix your blood and then your blood sisters.
Brothers. Yeah. Now it's like, it's a big no-no, isn't it?
Christ.
Nah, it's not even, that's just weird.
Yeah.
Weekends were a lot of fun. Saturday mornings were your TV time. Just you, some cartoons, and your favorite sugary cereal. The rest of the day belonged to Dad so he could watch sports, a movie, or even the news later that evening. So now that TV time was over, it was off to your friend's house to ring the doorbell and ask if they could come out to play. Back then, it was always easy to tell where all the kids were in the neighborhood because of all the bicycles out front. For the most part, kids could do whatever they wanted as long as they stayed out of their parents' hair. The weekend was really all about your parents' social lives. It was a perfect time for a sleepover at a friend's house. Then the next weekend, it would be your turn to have your friend over. Dinner was an important time for the family to sit down together at the table and discuss the day or current events. As soon as it was over, it was time to take out the trash and do the dishes. That was every bit as important as doing your homework. Being tired was no excuse to be rude either. Everyone was tired. Going to the grocery store was an experience. Kids rode in grocery carts without seat belts or padded liners. Heck, it was even fun to just have groceries piled up on top of you. It was also fun to ride on the end of the cart as your parents pushed it. The cereal aisle was super colorful and they had some really cool toys and prizes inside. Back then, grocery stores had only one kind of milk. If you wanted skim milk, then you could just be a little weirdo by drinking half a glass or adding ice to it. We certainly didn't have 30 kinds of rice, almond, and soy milk. The choice was easy: milk or no milk. Every grocery store had a good butcher that you got to know well. Most meat packages didn't have a sell-by or use-by date. We depended on our noses and visual inspection to see if it was still okay to use. One thing you absolutely didn't see were kids on iPads or doing the latest TikTok dances. Kids just had to enjoy the experience. This was also true on long trips in the car. No iPads, snacks, or juice boxes needed.
That's what I
You
used to
just
do.
found ways to entertain yourself.
That's what I used
Maybe
to
you
do. We used to go to my aunt's who lived in Bury.
Right.
Now you think Bury was like 10 minutes away, innit? Not maybe 25 minutes.
yeah, half
For
an
us,
hour.
it was like a day trip. It was miles away.
Yeah.
And I used to sleep on the back parcel shelf, the car.
I thought that was the front, I can't lie. That.
No, it was like on the back of the parcel shelf,
Yeah.
underneath the back window.
Yeah, yeah.
I just fit perfect, and the light across there. That was my seat for the journey.
Jesus.
Yeah.
What if there was a crash?
Well, no one had seatbelts on anyway, and even the seatbelts he had, they want them roller ones that come back in.
No.
Just a belt that used to go around. It was about that. I could stretch my arm as far as I could with the belt in my hand, and it still wouldn't tighten. There was no tightening of the belts. It just used to be a loose belt that went over. No one wore seatbelts anyway.
No, there was no car seats.
There was no law to
No.
wear a seatbelt
No.
in them days.
When was it law? When did it become
Probably in
law?
the 80s, late 80s,
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah.
That's insane.
But so these are bang on for
Yeah.
what we used to do. Exactly the same. Funniest thing I remember about being a kid in the 70s is we lived in a block of flats. Right, it was like about 7 or 8 blocks of flats where we lived, and my mum used to go to the bar on a Sunday night and let my older brother, babysit us, and he was only about 11. I was about 7. Anyway, my mum and dad went out, so we used to all pretend to like be getting ready for bed and all. As soon as they went out, we were changed and we were all out the house.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, they turned around and they came back. You know where I was? I was on the roof of the flats. I was only about 7. Can you imagine finding like a 7 or 8-year-old now on the roof of the flats? You'd be like, insane.
And they're shouting at an 11-year-old saying he should have been taken care of.
Used to be there, everything, wouldn't they? Fire brigade.
I know.
You'd have, can you imagine?
News report.
We used to jump off the garages.
That's what we used to do. We used to go on the lower roofs and then jump off them when we were kids, so you could jump the furthest onto the grass, onto the roof.
Anything to entertain yourselves, right? Who can jump the furthest?
Played car bingo, or maybe you pulled out the elastic out of your sock and then popped your little sister or brother. Oh, look out! They're crying. Here comes Dad's arm.
You
Don't
still
make
do
them
that
stop the
now.
car. No matter what, kids always found something to do. If you didn't, then your parents would. Never ever say that you were bored. That meant extra chores. Back then, kids would grab scrap pieces of lumber and materials and then build their own clubhouse. None of them ever came from Amazon or big box stores. Every year, kids would look through Christmas catalogs and dream about what they wanted. It was always fun to circle everything you liked. Kids didn't get everything that they wanted. If you got one item from your wish list, then you had a really good result. There are literally thousands of things that kids used to do in the 70s.
To give you an idea about presents at Christmas, one year, do you know what I got for my main Christmas present?
A musical calculator.
Calculator.
As a Christmas present.
Which I'm sure was like stolen or something. My dad had bought it from someone in the pub.
One year I
You selling calculators in the pub?
You sell it, you can buy anything in the Cornish.
Yeah, I wanted a Cindy, which is like a Barbie doll, and a wardrobe. And I got the Cindy, but the wardrobe was a black box that my mum got with 2 wine glasses in. So you just
Use
opened
that,
it.
yeah, that was it.
That's the wardrobe.
Yeah, for the doll.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you go in the pub now, if you go in the Cornishman now on a Friday night or a Saturday night, you can buy, like, last time I went in I bought 4 steaks, 2 packs of bacon and a lady shave.
What?
Yeah.
You bought that?
Yeah, for a tenner.
Why did you
It was
buy
like
it?
50 quid. Someone still had the tag on it, you know, the emergency tag on the, someone took it out of a shop.
Yeah.
And they come in the pub and sell it. It's the smackheads that sell it.
Yeah.
So I just, for the like $39.99 for that, and I'll give them a £5 for that, and then I bought some steaks for £1 each. They were like £10 each. So I was like, supporting the local drug trade.
Now he's going to go and do it again.
Not my problem, is it?
But are no longer being done now. Most of those things are either illegal or frowned upon. Was it better or worse? I'm not quite sure, and I'll let you be the judge of that, but I'm really grateful that I got to experience the 70s firsthand. Can you think of anything that we missed, or maybe you just want to share some special memories of things you used to do? Let us know in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching.
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what I did growing up.
I'm quite surprised that it's so similar to it, because it's America, isn't it? They're talking about like America, really, aren't they? So I'm surprised it's like very similar.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Everything mentioned there is exactly what we did growing up in the 70s.
I remember Mum sitting me down and talking about stranger danger. So she'd say, right, Gaynor, I'm in a car. I'm going to pull up at the side of you, and I'm going to put my window down, and I'm going to say, hello, little girl. Would you like to come for a ride with me to see some puppies? And I'd say, no, I'm not allowed to talk to strangers. And I'd sort of walk, I need to drive a bit more, and they'd say, little girl, your mummy said it's okay to get in the car. And I'd go, okay. And I'd get in the car, and she'd go, no, if anybody says that your parents you've sent you don't get in the car. And we went through this about 4 or 5 times, and I never got it. Thankfully, I was never abducted.
Never abducted, yeah. There's a lot of abduction.
After 4 or 5 times, if I was your mum, I'd just be like, Jesus, just take it.
Yeah.
Just take it.
Anyone got any sweets for this kid?
Anyone got any puppies?
Anyone got any little rabbits? She's not seen a rabbit for a while. Anyone want to take it and have a look? Yeah. But that's,
Hopefully a man with a van.
Yeah, orange one. Don't know what it is. All the abductions take place, they have an orange van.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all the weirdos that drive the orange vans. So if you've got an orange van, weirdo. But yeah, it's, that was great video. I love that.
Yeah.
I love reminiscing like that back to the time when you were a kid. But the only thing missing off there is the massive slides with no barriers on the side.
Yeah, and they were all like mirrored.
Stainless steel.
Yeah, so
like
when it was
silver.
hot, you go
Red
down
hot.
there.
Yeah, like burn you.
Yeah.
But even then we used to put soapy water down them to make it go faster.
I remember doing like slipping slides when I was younger, like getting like a long mat out, spraying it with water.
I do it with Arlo now. With the grandkid, get him slipping slides out and put it. But he doesn't. Again, there's no health and safety with him neither. We're just teaching the way we grew up.
Yeah.
But no, it's the same with you two. It was the same. You just grew up the same way we do. It's So did you do any of that?
Not really.
You grew up in like the 90s, didn't you?
Well, more early 2000s, really. Yeah.
Health and safety was big there.
Yeah.
I'd say like we weren't allowed past the
cycle
road.
helmet.
Yeah, like we had helmets. So it's like we weren't allowed to go past the street until about 10, 11, maybe 12. I don't know. Can't remember.
Danger zone where you lived, don't it? Right?
That's the thing. You can't go
Danger
too
zone.
far, or
Yeah.
you'll get run over or something.
Great, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, don't forget to subscribe. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments your 70s experience if you've got any.
Yep.
And if any of them still exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are.
I've not seen any. When you go to like a park, when I take Arlo to the park or anything, you don't have any roundabouts like they did then or anything like that.
No.
Nothing like crazy anymore.
No.
Even climbing frames are all safe now.
Yeah, I mean,
They're all like soft play with like padded floors and stuff.
they've still got those like big whatsits though, haven't they? But they're all on grass now rather than the spongy flooring.
Yeah. We'd have some alky sat in the middle of it, drinking his bottle of beer or whatever, and moaning at us for climbing, for using the park as kids. Anyway, we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.